here I am right here telling you this one important lesson, and that is to laugh at yourself. You are a funny person, whether you think of it or not. I used to not really think I was that funny of a person, and people would always laugh at me, and I would kind of take offense to this. I'd be like, why are you laughing at me? And people would just be like, you're funny. And whether it's me trying to be funny or not, whether I'm just a funny looking individual, my hair's a little long, I got stuff going on with my face, I don't know, we're all pretty funny. I think I'm pretty funny looking. I think we're all pretty funny looking. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but you are funny whether you think about it or not. And I really think that life is just one big show. Life is one big comedy show if you look at it. Maybe it's sad if you look at it in the short run. You know, you come here, you work some, then you die, but nobody really knows what happens when you die. I would say that my humble prediction is that you've already lived probably thousands, maybe millions of lives before. You've lived, you've died, then you get reincarnated if you believe in that type of stuff, or you just live in another dream if you want to look at it. I made another video that we're living in infinite dreams, which is the same type of view, but I think that it's pretty funny that we don't, like, we forget, we kind of know all this stuff intuitively, but we forget it when we come here to Earth, and we agree to forget about it because that's what makes this experience more authentic. That's what makes it more of a fun joyride, thrill ride, whatever you want to call it. And it makes it more of an authentic learning experience where we basically choose what we want to do, not understanding what the consequences of our decisions are. And I think that makes this one of the funniest places to be in the entire universe, because probably anywhere else on any other planet, if you believe in intelligent life forms or not, they probably are far more intelligent than us and really understand what's going on in the grand scheme of things. I mean, if you believe in God or not, that's fine, you have your own opinion, but I believe that if God does exist, he's probably a comedian. He or she, don't want to leave out, could be both genders, could be genderless, don't want to leave anybody out there, but I think that he or she is telling jokes through pretty much every single situation, and you can choose to find the humor in the situation, or you can choose to be very sad and serious about everything. And that's how I used to be. I always used to think that people were laughing at me and that was a bad thing, and then I learned to laugh at myself, and that completely changed my life. I learned that people are going to be laughing at you no matter what you do, so you should learn to laugh at yourself too. You should learn to enjoy the life that you're living, have fun, and just understand that it's really all a game. You can say, oh, it's not a game, we have all these seriousness like jobs and taxes, and these are all stuff that we made up to basically keep the system running. You need to keep the system running. You need to go work for something. You need to go provide value into the world. Not everything is just going to be brought to you. And I think it's funny that the fact that there can literally be people that make a living, other people go pay to watch other people tell jokes to make them laugh, because that's something that we really value as a society. And that's something, since basically like the ancient Greeks, or as far back as civilization goes, the Sumerians, Egyptians, they probably all had comedians, and they honestly could have been some of the more respected people in those societies. They had the court jesters that was making the king laugh, because if the king was too serious all the time, he was probably executing way too many people or raising taxes or taking, just step back a sec, just even thinking about the idea of that kings and queens ruling over people, wonder what gave them like the right, or why people kind of just thought that was the way life was. Maybe that's just the life that you grow up in, and you're kind of programmed to think in a certain way, just the way that we're kind of brought into this world not really knowing what's going on, and we see the seriousness of everybody else and what they're doing, and they're always very stuck in their minds and thinking, I gotta do this, this, and this to get this job, and then get this promotion and do this, when they're not really seeing the bigger picture of life. You're not really gonna remember at the end of your life any of the money that you made or any of the stuff that you had. All you're gonna really care about are the relationships you had, kind of the value you added in the world, and whether you made people feel good about themselves and whether they made you feel good. That's all you really remember people for, and that's all they really remember you for. And I think that is honestly beautiful. I think it's amazing, but I also think it's funny in a way that we're trained to basically love material possessions. We're trained to chase after the gold, chase after the glitter, but chase after the money, chase after the paper. But the only value this stuff really has is the value that we give it. We are the ones who created it. We didn't create gold, but we're the ones who started using it to trade it, using it as a form of currency, using it as a form of barter, maybe making gold toilets out of it or whatever absurd thing a rich person is going to make out of gold. But money is another funny thing that it has absolutely no inherent value. I learned this by taking econ. I was honestly rattled because I grew up thinking that money had some sort of internal value, but then I realized that it's just something that is printed and loaned out to people so then they can loan it back. That's a completely different rant, but that's something that I think is funny. But the more I learn to really laugh at life, the more that I learn that life can be really joyous and magical and wonderful, and it doesn't always have to be very just slow and heavy, sad and negative. I realized that that was all coming in here. It's all being created in my mind. It's all being created in your mind, and you can choose to have whatever type of experience that you want. You can choose to perceive your life as not being fun, that everything is happening to you and you have no choice but to accept this very negative reality, and you'll be trapped in kind of a box, in kind of a lower vibrational reality that I know I used to be trapped in and thought that everything was happening to me. I didn't understand that I was co-creating the reality that I was living in, that I was basically clinging to all these negative mental emotions and thoughts that were going in my head about all these negative limiting beliefs that all they were trying to do was limit me. They were trying to box me in. They were trying to hold me down. And the more you stop holding yourself down, the more you just learn to laugh at these. I mean, anytime I used to have a negative thought, I would take it so seriously, like, oh, you are ugly, or oh, you are worthless, you have no value. I would take that so seriously. I'd take that to heart, which would then become basically a deep-seated belief. And now the more that I've meditated and introspected and really seen my thoughts more clearly for what they are, knowing that I'm the observer of my thoughts, I am not my thoughts, the more I've just been able to laugh at them. I just think it's funny. I think it's funny that I kind of view my thoughts, I'll say this more and more and more, but I think a great way to view your thoughts are as basically a bunch of toddlers, call them, no, maybe not toddlers, view your thoughts as a bunch of 5-year-olds that are basically vying for your attention. They're trying to make up the silliest, scariest, funniest story, anything on the complete extremes. They're trying to make up absurdly unrealistic but outrageous scenarios to grab your attention, because the more you feed them your attention, the stronger they'll become and the more you'll listen to them. So anytime you're really listening to your thoughts in your mind instead of your heart, instead of your gut, your intuition, you're basically just listening to these 5-year-olds making up fantasy stories trying to grab your attention. Whereas in your heart, your gut, far more intelligent in giving you actual advice. They're kind of like the shamans, the sages. They're the 81-year-olds. They're the grandparents. They're the wise people. But that's what it is. They're not as entertaining. They're going to tell you maybe not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Up here is going to be telling you what you want to hear. And that's funny to me because I used to always listen to up here. I never used to trust my heart, trust my gut. I thought those were just cliche things that people on self-help or spiritual books would say, and then I realized how true it was, which is again in itself very funny that I believed all this crap going on in my mind about how I wasn't worthy, when all the time, if I just searched within my heart, actually listened to what my heart was telling me, and it was telling me, you have always been whole, you have always been complete, you've always had this love and peace inside of you, but you've been looking outside for validation. You've been looking outside for people to tell you of your worth when you've had this worth inside of you the entire time. And that is extremely funny, that everything that this world tells you that you can get on the outside is really already within you. You don't need $100,000 or $1 million or a brand new Tesla or Bugatti or Ferrari. Love Ferraris, but you don't need a brand new car to love yourself. You don't need a $5 million mansion to love yourself. All you need to love yourself, and this is going to sound cliche, but to understand that that love is already within you. And that's I just think it's so funny, because there will be people that are watching this that say that is complete crap, that is not true. And I think it's funny because I used to think like that. If I had been watching a video like this 2 years ago where somebody's saying this stuff, I would either say this person is crazy or I would laugh at them straight in their face. And that's okay. Laugh at me if you want. I welcome that, because laughing makes you happier. It gets rid of those negative emotions, gets rid of those anxious emotions that you're feeling. But at the end of the day, you can't keep laughing yourself away from your feelings. And I used to be very out of touch with my feelings, out of touch with my emotions, until I realized that emotions are your guidance system. They're the most truthful way to live your life. Your thoughts are all lies, your emotions are all truths.